Hello, everyone. I've said that I'm going to share some of my experiences. Um, these are things that is just throughout my life and, my trial and what's been happening with me the last, years. And it brings you to the understanding. It brings, through all of it, now that the Spirit has poured out the understanding to us. It's beginning to understand all these things and all that's happened through our trial. There's so much I want to speak on. It's all about the Word. It's all about truth. I don't, like I've said before, I don't know where to begin. But I have said I'm going to share, so I just want to touch base a little bit on, a couple things, speak briefly on a couple of my experiences. And these things is just in me, I haven't brung things out. I'm not, I don't. Every time throughout my life, I would just always know that I would understand one day. So it's kind of like filed away. This isn't things I've thought of, so I'm just going to. But I do want to finish, I told you the last, with my visitation, that I still don't have full understanding. But it's those who have their mind closed who will never have full understanding. If your mind is closed to the Spirit to give you understanding, and you just turn to man, you can't receive it, because you've believed man. But I said I would tell, part 2 of what happened that night, after I got up. First, I wanted to just go over a few things. As kind of, I guess the only way to really go back and remember them right off, because I haven't thought of even what I'm going to say in this video. And there might have been little things that I, haven't really thought on that I might miss. But, like from the first one, when I first, picked up. Well, actually, it started when I had been through many years of confusion. I'd already went to the church. They already showed me the God I didn't know. And, I did not understand. And one day, my mother-in-law, ex-mother-in-law now, but at the time, she had got me to go back to church with her. And it was a Pentecostal church. And that's before I lost, my heart in the trial of my faith. It was begun, but it wasn't. I hadn't heard the testimony like I did when right after that, when I opened up the book, after I'd asked, I had asked God to show me who you are. But I was in the church with her, and the preacher's preaching, and I think Mama was holding my only daughter. Or one of them. No, I don't know what baby she was. She was holding one of my babies. Maybe even Nick. But, and I had this feeling come over me in the church. And I don't know where the numbness, it's like I got numb. And I still don't understand this. And I don't know that this was the Spirit of God. I don't know that. But I just remember I felt tingly. And it ended up, I don't know where it started, if it started low and went high, but through my whole body I felt kind of numb. And I'm just sitting there, preacher's preaching, Mama's sitting here not knowing, no one knows what's happening with me, and I'm having this experience, and, I feel it, and then it went up through my head, and I'm just sitting there feeling this tingling, this numbness. And then my mouth and my tongue began to get numb. And when that happened, as soon as my mouth and tongue began to get numb, I thought, oh, this isn't spiritual. I'm having a seizure. Because when I was a little girl, for 3 years, I had seizures. From the age like 9 to 12 or something. They never really knew why. But, so as soon as I felt my tongue getting numb, I thought, you're having a seizure, and because that's what would happen. That would be when I was a little girl, my mouth would get numb would be my first sign that, and I'd get dizzy and my mouth would get numb, and that was the first sign of my seizure. That's how I'd always know I was going to have one. And so, but as soon as I got scared, it was gone. And I'm sitting there, no one knows what just happened to me. I'm sitting there thinking, what was that? As soon as I had fear, it left me. And then I don't know how many days, or if it was a week or 2 weeks that stayed with me, that experience. And I don't know if there's something I'm forgetting, but, I just know that feeling led me. I want to know. And that's when I went and, said the prayer. I blocked out everything man had told me. I said, show me who you are. Teach me. I said, I don't know nothing. I just said, I knew. That's how I went. And that's when the, testimony was first given to me, when I opened the book and heard the words alive. But I'm just touching base here. So that was an experience. And after that, it was after the word had become alive, which I see things differently now that I have understanding of things. I actually have a clear understanding of what was really happening throughout my life now. But it was, after I had received the testimony, heard the testimony, and no one was there to help me, and I had no good feedback. It was Satan leading me. That's all I heard. Man did not understand what was happening with me. And I never really thought of this experience in the church again. It was all, once I heard that testimony, that was all it was about. But, and then, the man on the bed. So that might be the first vision. If it was a vision or dream, but I believe it was a vision. Because I had just laid on my bed, on my couch, and I didn't even have time to sleep. The next thing I know, I'm standing there, and I don't even think I don't remember if I've told you this one, but I'm just speaking briefly on these things right now, though. Where I'm standing there at my stairs, and I look over, and a man is holding a book open in his hand. I showed you how he looked at me in another video. And he was a Jewish man, dressed in all black, and sitting on the side of my bed, and he just turned and looked at me, and, so that way, and I didn't know who he was. I didn't know if he was evil. Name John went through my head. I do remember the name John went through my head. But I never knew if that was John or, what that meant. And, then that's when I didn't understand, and I just dropped to my knees and threw my hands up, and I cried out. I remember my soul just cried out for God to help me, because I did not know. And then the next thing I know, I'm laying on the bed. On the sofa. Opened my eyes thinking, what was that? So, there's more to these, things, but I'm just going quickly. I've, dreams and visions, which I don't really know. Sometimes, at one point, I thought maybe, because they say you cannot see color in dreams. Supposedly we can't see color because it's dark and you cannot, there can be no color if there is no light, I guess. So I always thought maybe the dreams was where there was a black and white, and visions was where I would see color, But anyway, So I don't know what is the difference, really. At this point, I don't know which ones was dreams and visions. Well, sometimes when I know I'm sleeping first, perhaps, and then, something happens. And I don't know sometimes if I've actually been out of body, or if it's just a vision. But, I remember, and my Uncle Tony has had the same thing, and I remember when I shared with him years ago, I shared with him a dream vision, whatever, that I had, and I was standing in my grandmother's front yard, and I was facing, I don't know if this would mean anything, which perhaps, because, directions do have meaning that I don't understand yet, but I was standing facing west in my grandmother's front yard, and I looked up, and coming from the north, it was blue skies. And coming from the north, you could see black fighter jets, going south. They was flying, well, that's as I remember, they was flying from north to south. I mean, as far as you could see, just the whole sky was fighter jets. And I knew it was the world. It was man going to fight against God. And I knew that they did not know, that they was going to fight against God. But see, I didn't see that. That's all I seen, blue sky everywhere, and then, the fighter jets. And when I had shared that with my Uncle Tony, and we went over this, me and Uncle Tony, I shared that a long time ago, and he told me, a couple of things that he had seen. And we went back over it a couple of days ago. We hadn't spoke of these things in years, and, he works for me at the store, and we've actually had, from where I'm at now, and from where he's at, over the last months, over the last couple of years, there's been twice we really got at each other, because Tony don't know what I'm doing and what's happening with me, because I wasn't ready to share. He knows what I do. He knows that I make my videos, and that, he knows, like I said before, I couldn't share until I understood. So really, it was just the other day when I really opened up to Tony. So, as Tony's not in the working of it right now. He's like stalled, he's like, so just, I know, I'm not going to go into all that, but our conversation the other day brought it back to the surface for him, and we shared with each other a couple of things. So, we went over, he retold his visions to me also. But he hasn't been in the working. He hasn't had anything lately because he's not in the Spirit right now. He's not looking into it. He's not allowing the Spirit to show him right now, like some of us are. But I think our conversation will probably bring that on him. He will, well, you know what I mean. And I get so off track. So when I shared that, wait a minute, where was I at? So I was sharing that, and then Tony, okay, and he went over the other day, he retold it to me. When I had said that to him, he retold his to me, but he had more. Because in his vision, because when I had told him that years ago, I remember him saying, Nancy, I've seen that same thing, but only there was more to his. And he was standing out in grandmother's yard, same yard, and I don't remember all of it. I'm just going to say, the parts that I do, but he's seen the same thing. Jets, the blue sky, jets fighting against God. But when he looked up, he saw angels everywhere. And he said they was I guess they was more like lights. I said, what did they look like? He said they was lights, and he knew that they was angels, little lights. He said there was just everywhere. And he said, and when he saw that the world had gathered their armies together, he knew they was fighting against these angels. They was fighting against God. And there was he couldn't believe that they would even try, he said, because there was so many. So that was a little different. He actually saw, I don't remember seeing anything else. I remember just blue skies and the jets. But he saw just multitude and multitude of angels that there's no way the world could come against. But what else was on his? And another one we had shared. And it was years apart. When it was even years from when I had mine and he had his, and then we finally had spoke of it. And it's been years since we spoke of these things together, till the other day. But I've had another one twice, and he's had the similar one also, where, and I'm at my grandmother's, and I just saw fireballs, red, orange fireballs falling from the sky. And first there was one here and here. And you could get away from them. At first I remember, and I've had that same one twice, but there was, then one I had a child with me. And, but at first you could get away from where they was falling, you could run. But then, once they started, more and more started falling, to where there was no more place to run. And I remember in one of the visions, dream vision, in one of them, when I realized I could not run, and I had a child in my arm, and I remember taking the child, and I just bent down on my knees, and I covered over the child to protect the child. But I don't know what child it was, but that's all I remember. See, I remember that I didn't have no little babies at the time of that dream vision. There's just little things. There's so much more that I've had where I've soared space. The first time this ever happened, all right, the first one. I'm just sharing, just so you can relate, anyone who's had these similar things. I mean, I more want to just, speak His word, but I think that, maybe it's important people see it's part of my journey. It's part of my battle, is these experiences. It's part of my learning. And there's many who hasn't had any experience. They have never, that is, the battle is finding, what is this? Why am I seeing these? Why is this happening with me? That's part of it. That's the thing, the spirit things, But, so, the first time I ever, and I might be forgetting things here and there, but there's another thing I did as a child, too, and young adult, not so much now, but that's another story. I don't know if I'll share that right now, but the first time I had just got done, I was reading, I believe it was The Mist of Avalon, and that's a book Shane and you was talking about King Arthur. That's a Arthurian, is that how you say it? Arthurian story with Guinevere, Lancelot. It was a good book. I enjoyed that book. But I had just got done reading on my bed, and I laid my book down, and I fell asleep. And the next thing, and this was probably 15 years ago, the other things I had spoken, they was before that. They was longer ago than that. But I had, just got done reading, laid the book down, I fell asleep. The next thing I know, and some things being so far, and I've not written things down, and I've, I don't really think on these things too much. It's just in me. It's just, part of my experience. And so I could be forgetting. So I'm just speaking briefly these things. So next thing I know, I'm in space, just soaring. And this first time this happened with me, there isn't a lot to it, just that I'm soaring, and it's darkness. And I don't remember if I seen anything, or because I knew there had to be more. I remember thinking, this can't be it. There has to be more. And I don't know if I saw something at that point, or if I knew if I go on, if I go forward, will I find more? And I wanted to go. I wanted to find out what was out there, because it was dark, and I was at peace. I wasn't fearful. I guess I was alone, but, it's me soaring through the darkness of space there, and then as soon as I wanted to go on, but I was afraid if I went on, I couldn't get back to my body. As soon as I had that fear, I saw myself laying on the bed. I knew I was all far away, but I like tunnel vision. I could see myself laying on the bed, laying on my side. I could see my book sitting by my pillow. And as soon as I had that fear, I saw this tunnel vision of myself laying there. And then next thing I know, I opened my eyes. I'm laying on the bed thinking, what just happened? Was I really there? And I've had a few others. I had one, I was trying to do kind of an order of remembering these experiences, but and I'm sure I'm going to miss them right now, but I've had another soaring like twice. One just like maybe a month or two ago, not 2 months ago. And it was days after that I had this last one of the soaring through space. That I remember I've had that same exact one before. But it was days after where it finally registered. I remember it. And, it took days for me to remember the whole experience. It was when I kept on remembering, and this, I saw this, and I saw this. And a few days later, that's when I remember I had that exact, well, in part, I guess, the same vision before. But in this one, which was, like I said, not 2 months ago, how did this one begin? Because I didn't remember it. I only remembered part. The soaring, certain things. Then I remembered how it began. I shot up. So I'm going to try to just say the parts that I do now remember, which I know I've forgotten some parts of it. Okay, let me try to remember this one. There was a lot more to this, and I don't know if all of it was from the one that I remembered, if the exact same thing, just certain things was the same. Because I didn't remember for days later that where it began. It began something about my grandma's backyard. That's why I don't know if I had been there, but because I didn't remember this in order. It was piece by piece. Okay. But I remember shooting up straight from, like a rocket, straight from my grandmother's backyard. Just shot up. And then I can remember, I don't know if I was soaring in space at first, because at one point, like I said, it's hard to put it in order when I didn't even remember it in order. It was piece by piece, but at one point, after I shot up, I think that's when I finally shot up. I think at one point I finally shot up, and that's when I was space, but at one point, I was soaring, and I could see the city. I could see the world laid out below me. And it was kind of like I was being instructed, because I knew I was learning how to get myself, and I'd see like the downtown monument. That's how I'd know where I was. So I was like a map. When I would look down, it was like what I would see below would be my map, so I could find my way back. And I'd, go this way, and then when I'd go back up, and then I'd look down below, and I would, I'd see where I was at, so I could get around. And that's all I remember. I don't know much more to that, just that I was, the earth was my map, that I wouldn't get lost, that I would know how to get around. But at one point, then I think that's when I came back, because I was always going there, coming back to Grandma's. That's how I was learning. And I'd go here, and I'd come back. I was finding, myself learning how to get around, to get back to where I wanted to go. And then when I shot up to space, I was soaring, and it seems like there was a presence with me. I was not fearful of this presence. It was like, I don't know, if it was Christ's presence, I don't know the presence. This is just a vision. This is just, I don't understand these things. This part I will come to understand. See, those who've never experienced things, they are closed off. And they don't understand us who have experienced things of the Spirit. So, and I did not remember. That's the wild thing, is that I didn't remember automatically. It was piece by piece, here and there. I was given the memory. But I remember soaring. I knew someone, because I think I heard a voice, would be telling me, speaking with me, telling me things as I'm soaring space. And then it was like I was learning how to, I felt like, and that's what I felt like this presence with me was teaching me, wasn't instructing me. And to, sometimes I'd be just soaring slow, and sometimes I was flying through space, just zooming, my body, I'm flying. I could feel the sensation. I'm flying through space at super, super fast speeds. And I can remember, and there's so much I know I don't remember. But it perhaps will be given to me, things I don't. And I know I will understand all of this in time. But, and then at one point when I had been doing this for a while, where I'd soar fast and slower. And it was all darkness. It was darkness. Calm. It was tranquil. Everything. And then as I'm zooming real fast, like, I don't know how far ahead of me, it was in the darkness. It was this, I realized, it's so hard to explain. It was ahead of me. And it caught my eye out of my vision, where I didn't realize it was there before. Right ahead of me was a pink ball. I should try to draw this ball. It was like, I want to say, what color pink? Actually, it was similar to this. Right here, a lot like this. A lot like this color pink. And it was translucent like that. It's a little sour spray or something from the store. A lot like that. Not so crazy that's right there, but it was a ball. Okay, so might not have to draw it out. I might be able to describe it. It was that color, translucent, and it seemed to be like hectagon shaped, like a soccer ball, like the shapes on it. It seemed, but it was round, and I could see the shapes on it. And when I, like it was pieced, I don't know it was, I don't know how to describe it. Some things are indescribable, but it just seems like I seen like the same hectagon pattern, or like with the 5 side, or maybe 6, I don't know, but mine like a soccer ball. That's why I thought of it. But I had been soaring for a while before it caught my attention way, because it was the color of it, and in the darkness it was almost hid in the darkness because of the translucent and the of it. And when I caught it, and there was thoughts and stuff going on. I don't know if anything was being told to me, but there was more going on that I don't remember, like I said. But when I finally saw it, realized it's there, and I think I thought, is it what's guiding me? And then I started going after it, and then that's when I was chasing it, and that's when I started going zooming again, real fast. I mean, I was zooming after this ball. There's this ball, and I'm chasing it through space. And I remember, because I was trying to catch it, I think. I was going to catch it in the ball, and I did catch the ball. And I don't understand this yet. I don't understand this. But when I finally got where I knew I was getting ready to get it, I remember a moment of hesitation. It was like, are you ready to take that ball? I wasn't sure what would happen when I took the ball. And I had a moment as I stopped, I hesitated. And then I just reached out.